Welcome to Ethical Hacking for Beginners, Other Types of Reconnaissance. In this video, we're going to take a look at vulnerability scanning with a program called Nikto and vulnerability scanning with another program called Sparta. Let's talk a little bit about vulnerability scanning. So a vulnerability is a weakness that's in a computer, a system, or a network. This allows us to exploit that weakness and get into that computer or system or network. So Nikto is a free program that is actually a web server vulnerability scanner. So it scans web servers and it finds vulnerabilities in the server itself. It finds cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. It also finds vulnerabilities in web applications like Gallery and various PHP applications. So if we go ahead and type nikto-h, that will list the help file. If we do a capital H, it will list the full help file. And then to run the command, we simply run nikto-h for host and then the IP address. This will run a scan on the default port of 80. So let's go ahead and do that in a demo right now. Go ahead and start up your virtual machines, and if you haven't already, log in to your Metasploitable 2 by typing msfadmin. And then if I do an ifconfig, I can find my IP address. Yours might be different from mine. Mine is this 192.168.111.128. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead, get into Kali Linux if you haven't already booted it. And we simply open up a terminal window, just like this. And now if I go ahead and type nikto-h with nothing else, you'll see here's a simple help file. Again, our target host.h, and then this little plus sign means you need another variable, which is the host. We can output our results to a file. That's important to use perhaps later. We can disable using SSL. There's a list of plugins we can use. Here we go. For port, other than default 80, we can use a different port. And there's some various other options here. So let's, as I said before, it says capital H for the full help text. So let's go ahead and do a capital H. Let's see what that looks like. So you can see you get a little bit more information here. It actually tells you a little bit more of what variables you can use here. That's broken down a little further here. Displays, show it on all displays. Save the output to a file and in this format. So we can output actually in different formats like an HTML file, a comma separated value file, for instance. Let's see, there's various other options here that we can use. Alright, so we already ran Nmap earlier on Metasploitable 2, and it was running a web server on the default port of 80. So let's go ahead and run Nikto against that web server. So nikto.h and that IP address, 192.168.111.128, or whatever your IP address is for Metasploitable 2. You'll see a little banner, our Nikto version 2.1.6, as it starts the scan. So right now it is scanning that web server that's running on Metasploitable 2, and it's looking for vulnerabilities in that web server. It's looking for perhaps possible login pages. It will find those. It's looking for problems with PHP. As we said earlier, it's looking for cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, which is a common way to penetrate a network or a system. So you'll see it found a web server on port 80, and here it's listing what web server it is. It's Apache 2.2.8 running on, it thinks, Ubuntu, which is a Linux operating system. It gives us the version of PHP. This could be helpful. We could look that up for vulnerabilities. All right, and it's telling us here cross-site scripting protection header is not defined. That means we might find some cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. Ooh, and now we have all kinds of information coming up. Okay, Apache 2.2.8 appears to be outdated. So it's an older version of Apache. That's good news for us, probably. The doc directory is browsable. This may be usr/doc. That's important info. We could probably get somewhere with that. Okay, here we have an OSVB 3092. This might be interesting. So again, it's looking for some PHP vulnerabilities. The scan is still running. Okay, and our scan has finally finished, and you'll see it was scanning PHP. It says here PHP in my admin directory has been found, and it's for managing MySQL databases and should be protected or limited to authorized hosts. So that's something we can check out and see if it really is limited to authorized hosts. So that is Nikto, and now we're going to go ahead and use a tool for vulnerability scanning called Sparta. Sparta is interesting because Sparta groups several tools together in one convenient user interface, and it has a GUI. And these are tools such as Nmap, Nikto is in there, Hydra, and a few others. So let's get back into our virtual machine, Kali, and I'm going to go ahead and type Sparta. And this will open up this nice GUI. So you'll see we have some options here to try blank passwords, try logging in as password, try login, loop around users, and we can load a password list and a username list within this tool to try to brute force various services, which will show up in this tab here, services. And we have an information tab on your host and some notes. Again, services will show up here and our various tools. So let's go ahead and click here to add our host. In this case, mine was 192.168.111.128. Okay, we're going to add it to the scope. And you'll see we get a little progress bar down here that's showing that it's running Nmap right now on our host and what time it started. And it says here our status is running. This is stage 1. Okay, and now we're starting to get some results. Now it's running a stage 2, and it's also running Nikto on port 80. And you can see port 80 is open, right? It's running Apache. We saw that earlier, version 2.2.8. So we can click on various things here. Services, we see some other services that are running on Metasploitable 2. MySQL. Nikto earlier told us MySQL was a possibility. And here it is, showing up on here. Oh, we're starting to get some more services on Metasploitable 2. FTP is open and running, it looks like. SSH is an open port and running. Telnet is open and running. So there's more services showing up now. Nmap stage 4 is running. You can see it's also trying default passwords for FTP. So FTP default, here we go. And this is handy. So we click on here and we click this tool here, FTP default, and it's running Hydra. And Hydra is trying these passwords. It's trying to log in with anonymous with the password sparta.com. One valid password found, it says. Okay. MySQL default is also running from Hydra. They log in root, and this also says one password found, successful. Okay. Nikto, here's all our output from Nikto, like from that other, command terminal that we ran before. This is everything that output. It's now in this nice GUI right here. It's also running some other database stuff. Here's Screen Shooter. So here we go. This is Metasploitable's web servers page of what it looks like, a screenshot of it on port 80. Looks like SMTP is also running as a service on Metasploitable 2. So we're running another tool to try to crack that. So if we click on information, it gives us our MAC address, shows us that 12 ports are open. It's a Linux system, kernel 2.6.9, and notes, nothing in there, but we could type things in there if we wanted, right? I could type Metasploitable 2. Just so that, we have that information, any kind of note we want to put in there. Here's the results of Nikto from port 80. Here's a screenshot of port 80, so we don't have to type it in a browser. We just get it right here, what it looks like. Hydra running on SMTP, 0 results. MySQL, 1 valid password found from Hydra. There we go. That's probably useful information. Postgres, another database that Hydra is running, has found. FTP, another guy running and has been found. Okay. And now we're running Nmap stage 4. So another cool feature is within these services here, and there's our host detection. It's a Penguin, so it's Linux. Well, we can right click on these and we can try to open them with Telnet, Netcat, open with an FTP client. We can send it to brute to try to brute force it. We can grab its banner, which is another reconnaissance technique to try to see what version that program is and find vulnerabilities for that. So that's very interesting. SSH, we can do the same thing. We right click on it. We have a lot of options come up. Here's for our web server. We can right click that and there's all kinds of options that come up for that. SMTP, we get some options there, and to run various different tools. Here's MySQL. We get various tools for that. And cool thing is here we can save this information. We can save this as a Sparta project scan, and later on then we can go back and refer to it and look up vulnerabilities that were listed here or found. This is a very handy tool for reconnaissance and scanning. So here it's just a different view, but we get kind of the same thing. SSH. We get the services here, and then we can right click over here and do various things there. Here's Telnet. I can open that with Netcat. Let's try that. You'll see it opens up a terminal. We can open that up with Telnet. There you go. So we're just trying to Telnet in. And there you go. You see the Metasploitable 2 login here. And obviously this system is made to be, hacked. So it gives us our login information right here. Normally a system probably wouldn't do that. So, but we can go ahead and log in the Telnet. And look, there we are. We got a shell. We're in here. So it's running the last stage now. Nmap stage 4. Yeah, once again, this is a very powerful tool. Very handy. Lists all these services and ports and combines, Nmap and Nikto and, Hydra and these various other programs, so that we can scan for vulnerabilities. We can banner grab. Of course, we can save our results. Save Metasploitable 2. There we go. Let's save it right there on our desktop. I'm going to replace it, that file. Now if I go ahead and exit out of here. Now if I start up Sparta again, you'll see we're blank, but I can open up that file that I just created, Sparta 2. Here we go. Metasploitable 2. And there's all our results from earlier. So say I didn't get a chance to research something, I have it all right here for when I have time to do it. In this section, reconnaissance and scanning, we went over what is reconnaissance. We worked with the tool Nmap. We worked over and showed how to use the tool Shodan for scanning. And we also went over other types of reconnaissance. I hope you'll join me for section 3, exploit and sniffing. Very handy tool. Alright, in our next video we're going to be taking a look at Metasploit basics.